Guys, what is that? Please. What is that? I'm just gonna move a little bit away from it and come back to it. There it is.
Just minutes ago, Mireya Mayor revealed a shocking truth the government tried to bury. Bryce and his friends discovered a tree still warm to the touch in the haunting, frozen forest, as if a giant creature had just brushed past it.
Hey, Russell.
Go, Mireya.
Hey, Russell, Ronnie and I have just gotten into position.
Were they about to stumble upon a secret that everyone thought no one could ever uncover? Tune in as we track down the lethal truth that might be lurking in these woods, a truth that has Mireya so obsessed. Exposing the secrets of the old logging grounds. Bryce, Mireya, and his friends moved quietly through the cold, dark forest, heading toward an old logging area that had been abandoned. The strange sight of upside-down trees forming a triangle with a distant mountain made them uneasy. In one spot, they found a tree that was surprisingly warm, as if something large had just been there. As they approached the warm tree, Bryce's flashlight flickered and died, plunging them into darkness. They went deeper into the forest and their discomfort grew. The eerie combination of the trees, the mountain, and the deserted logging site felt unsettling. Bryce remembered strange disappearances and accidents in the area, and began to wonder if they had missed something important before. Back at the logging site, Bryce's suspicions increased. The silence was almost too quiet, and though they saw no signs of a creature, they felt they were not alone. They searched for clues, hoping to find something that would reveal what was really happening in this strange place. As they reached the river, their equipment detected a hot spot, an area recently warmed by something. Whatever had been there had already vanished into the trees, leaving only the warmth behind. But this wasn't the most puzzling part. This discovery gave them hope. As they pressed on, their senses became sharper. Every sound seemed louder in the silence of the forest, and their curiosity grew stronger, pushing them forward despite the dangers. The ancient forest seemed to hold many untold secrets. Day after day, they faced new challenges, moving through difficult terrain and carefully noting every small detail. Doubts lingered, but the possibility of uncovering something incredible kept them going. But the hardest part was yet to come. The forest seemed almost alive as they continued their search, knowing that the answers they sought might still be out of reach. Their quest for clarity became as important as the creature they were chasing. In Northern California, they found two large nests hidden among tall fir trees. The hares near the nests seemed at first to belong to wolves, but a closer look revealed they were something different. This was interesting, but still not proof. The group then met a local who told them about forest workers who had fled in fear after hearing strange screams. This added a new layer of fear to their ongoing search. But the biggest mystery lay ahead. Their investigation took them to Prince of Wales Island in Alaska, a wild area known for frequent sightings of Bigfoot. In a remote 60,000-acre area, about 5 miles from their base, people continued to report seeing strange things, keeping their hopes alive as they pushed forward. According to stories passed down by Native Americans, these creatures weren't just normal animals. They were seen as supernatural beings. Some of the tales even suggested they could be dangerous. The area wasn't just full of regular wildlife, but also possibly home to harmful creatures, including Bigfoot. This danger became clear as the team moved through tough terrain and ran into wild animals. They traveled to a remote alpine lake near Gray Mountain, a place said to be a hiding spot for Bigfoot, with only a few rough roads leading there. Ronnie and Mireya searched the mountain close to their camp, while Russell and Bryce explored the other side, keeping to a safer area. The team had a drone, originally made to detect gas leaks in pipelines, but they used it to pick up smells connected to Bigfoot, like skunks, wet dogs, rotting flesh, and feces. This high-tech gear was key in their search for any signs of the creature. While they found bits of evidence that added to the Bigfoot legend, each discovery seemed to raise more questions than answers. The clues they gathered seemed to fall somewhere between solid proof and mere speculation. As evening falls, Ronnie and Mireya prepare for what lies ahead in the wild. Bigfoot in the Alaskan wilderness. But this wasn't the most confusing part. As they were caught up in the excitement of possible discoveries, they also had to deal with the doubts of science. Their search for Bigfoot wasn't just about finding something new. It was an adventure into the unknown, stuck between curiosity fear, and the line between myth and reality. As the sun began to set, Ronnie and Mireya got ready for the challenges ahead. In the deep Alaskan wilderness, Ronnie and Mireya pushed their way through thick bushes. While not too far away, their teammate Russell found a river flowing east toward the ocean. A small but interesting discovery. Above them, the drone with its advanced sensors scanned the area, looking for strange smells often tied to Bigfoot, like skunk, wet dog, decay, and a weird sulfur smell. Mireya studied the drone's early findings, while Russell examined what seemed to be an animal skin hanging from a tree. The journey wasn't easy. Bad weather and dangerous wildlife, like bears, were constant threats, so they had to bring armed guards. This showed just how real the dangers were. As they went deeper into the forest, they started seeing odd things, like trees turned upside down and pale creatures that looked like the Yeti. But this wasn't the scariest part. This trip wasn't a casual hike. It was a carefully planned operation using the best tools and equipment. The drone, now fitted with gas sensors, was like their eyes in the sky, guiding them through areas thick with devil's club plants, which were covered in sharp thorns. Some people might think their mission was pointless, but the team saw every find, whether it was a strange piece of hair near a large nest or unsettling screams at night, as valuable. These discoveries weren't just interesting. They could be signs of a new animal species that hadn't been documented yet.
Remains of animals in the forest before, but nothing like this.
The team's determination didn't fade, even with bad weather and rough terrain. Each day brought new mysteries, and instead of discouraging them, these challenges only made them more determined. Their expedition wasn't just about finding Bigfoot. It was a test of their strength, a fight against nature's challenges and their own doubts. But this wasn't the hardest part. Every strange event, every sample they collected, and every local story helped them better understand the area. Even with setbacks like broken equipment or false leads, they felt like they were making progress. They weren't just chasing myths. They were building a bigger picture, trying to connect the known with the unknown. As Russell and Mireya walked through the frozen landscape, their breaths forming clouds in the cold air, they looked out over the endless, snowy terrain. They had been following clues and mysterious sightings through the wilderness of Northern California and Alaska, hiking through dangerous forests, climbing steep mountains, and crossing hidden valleys, all in search of Bigfoot, a creature that still remained just out of reach. Russell, with his sharp tracking skills, carefully watched their surroundings, while Mireya, focused and determined, scanned the dimly lit area for even the smallest signs of movement. They had already gone through harsh weather and tough landscapes, driven more by hope and determination than any real proof. The thick trees above and the snow-covered ground made it hard to spot any tracks they were hoping to find. Their search continued as the forest seemed to close in around them. The tall, overwhelming trees were everywhere. Every small sound, a twig snapping or a rustle in the leaves, gave them brief hope, but it quickly faded. They kept thinking that maybe the creature they were looking for was nearby, just out of sight, hidden by the dense forest and the creeping shadows of the evening. With night approaching, Russell and Mireya searched for a safe place to rest, camping in Bigfoot's backyard. As daylight started to fade, Russell and Mireya realized their chances of finding Bigfoot that day were very slim. They shifted their focus to finding a safe spot to camp for the night. The fading light and the unfamiliar terrain made it risky to keep moving, and the thought of spending the night in the forest, possibly being watched by hidden creatures, was unsettling. Even though they were well prepared and full of adrenaline during the day, the evening reminded them of how vulnerable they really were. They needed to find a secure camping spot, fast. Safety became their main concern, knowing that the chances of running into Bigfoot face-to-face were slim at best. The search for Bigfoot, often made to seem exciting by enthusiasts, now felt to Russell and Mireya like a tiring journey through harsh conditions. It was physically and mentally exhausting. Their days became repetitive. Wake up, search, find nothing, sleep, and do it all over again the next day. This daily grind started to wear them down, dulling the excitement they had felt at the start.
I know all the animals that are here, and I could say without a question of the doubt that that sound didn't come from any known animal here.
But this wasn't the worst part. The deeper they went, the more they realized that what they had imagined was far from reality. Still, they kept going, driven by the desire to prove others wrong and hold on to the faint hope that they might actually find something. Every odd clue, like a strange tuft of hair on a bush, sparked long discussions. But these talks usually led nowhere. Their journey became less about finding Bigfoot and more about managing their own hopes and facing the challenges of the wild. With each passing day, the chance of a big discovery seemed smaller, overshadowed by the simple task of getting through each day and the growing possibility that Bigfoot might not even exist. Their days were filled with a mix of excitement and frustration. Every possible clue got them talking for hours, but these conversations often ended with more questions than answers. The harsh conditions, the solitude, and the constant disappointments tested their patience. However, it also brought them closer together and gave them a deeper appreciation for nature. Yet there was more to this journey than they had initially realized. The vast, beautiful landscapes seemed indifferent to their mission. They had to learn to navigate not only the physical challenges, but also their own hopes and expectations. They found themselves balancing their optimism with the hard realities of searching for something that might not be there.
I don't know what was out there. I know that there was one from this direction,
Right.
one down there, one over there.
Yeah.
And suddenly it was disorienting, like we were surrounded, and suddenly here we are.
Under the stars at night, they often found themselves wondering what their next move should be. But this wasn't the end of their journey. As time passed, their mission subtly changed. It became less about actually finding Bigfoot and more about the adventure itself. The days spent in the wild, the long talks over every clue, and the stories they would one day tell became more important than the original goal. Whether or not they found Bigfoot started to matter less compared to the lessons they were learning about persistence, nature, and their own limits. That night, they set up camp in a small clearing, surrounded by thick trees that offered some protection from the cold. It wasn't perfect, but it gave them a bit of shelter from the weather. They stayed awake, listening carefully for any sounds that might suggest Bigfoot was nearby. But all they heard were the usual forest noises, leaves rustling and owls hooting in the distance. At the first light of dawn, they packed up and continued, undeterred by the quiet night. They went deeper into the forest, encouraged by small signs. A broken branch here, some footprints there. Every little hint gave them new hope, pushing them further in their relentless search. In the cold, quiet forest, each step takes Mireya and Russell further into the unknown. Pursuit through the frozen forest. Mireya Mayor is a fearless explorer and primatologist, often compared to Indiana Jones for her daring expeditions into remote and treacherous regions of the world. She gained recognition for her discovery of the world's smallest primate, the mouse lemur in Madagascar, an achievement that helped propel her into the scientific spotlight. Mayor's passion lies in bridging the gap between humans and the natural world, particularly focusing on endangered species like gorillas and lemurs and their threatened habitats. Her dramatic work in the wild aligns with her role on Expedition Bigfoot, where she uses her background in primatology and field research to investigate one of the most elusive creatures in folklore, Bigfoot. While Bigfoot has long been a symbol of mystery and the unknown, Mayor approaches the search with scientific rigor, treating it as an exploration of the unknown, much like her work in studying rare primates. Just as she has spent years deciphering the behaviors and habitats of elusive species, she brings a similarly meticulous approach to this mythic creature, merging the scientific with the fantastical. Mireya tripped over a hidden log and fell into the snow, hurting her ankle.
Tomorrow morning, I want to take Ronnie back to the location where I found the cabin. And what I'm hoping is that in the daylight and with 2 sets of eyes, we might be able to spot something that I might have missed.
The sudden fall made it clear just how alone they were in this huge, empty wilderness, with no help nearby. Russell quickly got to work, making a splint from nearby branches and some cloth from their bags. He even made a crutch to help Mireya walk. Despite her painful ankle and the freezing cold, Mireya kept moving forward, leaning on both Russell and her strong will. As they moved deeper into the forest, things started to seem strange. They came across a bone and some fur scattered on the path, clear signs that something was wrong. Not long after, they entered a clearing and were hit by a horrible smell. The sight in front of them was disturbing. The remains of an animal torn apart were spread all over the ground, the air thick with the scent of blood. But that wasn't the worst part. Among the remains were large bones, broken and crushed by something incredibly strong. It was clear they weren't dealing with just any animal. Whatever it was powerful and dangerous. Just as they began to process this, a snowstorm rolled in, covering the scene in a deceptive blanket of white, hiding the gruesome details they had just seen. After the storm passed, the forest seemed peaceful again, but it felt like a false calm. The horrible scene they had witnessed was now covered up, but they couldn't forget it. As they walked on, Russell and Mireya realized that the excitement they once had disappeared. Now they were fully aware of the dangers around them and how unforgiving nature could be. The clues that had once filled them with curiosity now filled them with dread as they moved further into the unknown. Still, they didn't turn back. If anything, they became more determined. They carefully made their way through the forest, constantly on alert for any sign of danger. The forest seemed alive, watching them, as the dark shadows and strange noises kept them on edge. Every small clue they found added to the story they were piecing together. With each step, the weight of what they might discover grew heavier, reminding them how far they had come. Their journey was a mix of slow, careful steps and long moments of silence, broken only by the sound of their footsteps and the occasional call of some hidden animal. They were far from home, chasing a goal that had now become more about proving something to themselves. As the day wore on, their bodies grew tired, but their determination never wavered.
I know that Ronnie is super excited by what I described to him, and I'm excited by it too, but I'm troubled by it because I can't explain.
They knew this experience would change them, no matter what they found. But this wasn't the hardest part. The forest taught them about their own strength and the wild power of nature. It showed them where their limits were. Even with Mireya's aching ankle and the after effects of the storm, they kept going, driven by a faint hope of finding Bigfoot, the creature that so many spoke about but so few had ever seen. The journey felt endless, with the constant sound of crunching snow under their feet, mirroring the ongoing challenges they faced. The cold, vast wilderness seemed to laugh at their efforts, making them feel small. As they pushed through their exhaustion, a dark shape suddenly appeared between the trees, a possible glimpse of the creature they had been searching for. They stopped in their tracks, hearts racing with a mix of excitement and doubt. But before they could react, the shape vanished, leaving behind fresh footprints in the snow, as if teasing them for being too late. As the sun began to rise, a new day brought new challenges, calling them further into the unknown. As a new day begins, the team presses on, eager to uncover what's hidden in the forest. A night with nature's mysteries. The experience was overwhelming. They felt small in the vast wilderness, following old stories and trails just like many before them who had tried and failed. As they continued, daylight quickly disappeared, and a cold chill settled in the air. Every sound in the quiet woods seemed louder, making them feel like the forest was closing in on them. Branches reached out, and the rocky ground seemed ready to trip them. Their goal was twofold: to find Bigfoot and stay safe in this unpredictable environment. They had modern technology like thermal cameras and drones, but the wildness of the forest made it feel like their equipment was out of place. Russell focused on the monitors for any signs of heat, while Ronnie and Mireya moved deeper into the woods, their senses heightened with each step. But that wasn't the hardest part. Every rustling leaf and snapping twig kept them on edge, as if something was watching them. Fear and excitement mixed together, pushing them forward. Despite the challenges, the thrill of possibly finding Bigfoot kept them going. Their hearts raced from both the effort and the excitement of maybe being the first to prove Bigfoot's existence. This strange mix of fear and anticipation fueled their journey. As they made their way back towards civilization, they were exhausted but wiser. They had faced the wilderness, learned about the creature they sought.
Thermal image on the drone. I'm confident this is Bigfoot.
And discovered their own limits and strengths. The wild had taught them important lessons about survival and exploration, leaving them with a deep respect for nature. Suddenly, they heard a noise that broke the night's silence. Ronnie and Mireya stopped, scanning the area for any signs of danger. They realized they weren't alone in the dense forest. Back at the station, Russell grew more anxious as their technology showed no signs of the creature. The tension in the air continued to rise. It felt like they were on the edge of a discovery, but the possibility that their tech might miss something added to their worries. The forest remained quiet, interrupted only by the occasional bird call or rustle of leaves. They then noticed something strange, a shadow moving quickly through the underbrush. It was too fast to identify, but it left a lasting impression. The creature might be closer than they thought. But things didn't calm down. The team pressed forward with renewed determination. Every shadow and noise seemed to hold a clue, and they knew they had to keep moving if they wanted to make a real discovery. As they ventured deeper into the forest, they became more cautious. The night grew darker, and the jungle seemed more dangerous. Each step was filled with both fear and excitement, knowing they could be close to something significant. Was the creature real, or were they just seeing what they wanted to see? Like, comment, and subscribe for more.